Good morning students. Today we are going to see the physics lesson unit 3 light. Before we go into the lesson, in the world many beautiful appearances are there. For example, lofty mountains covered with greenish vegetation, magnificent trees reaching the clouds, beautiful streams drifting down the valleys, bluish sea water roaring towards the coast, and the radiant sky in the morning being filled with golden red color, all give delight to our eyes and also peace to our mind. Not only these appearances, many are there to look with the help of the eyes and also which gives peace to our mind. But can we see them all without light? No, because we can see things around us only when the light reflected by them reaches our eyes. So what is light? Light is a form of energy and it travels in a straight line. This you had studied in your lower classes. How light gets reflected by the polished surface, for example, plane mirrors, are going to see in this lesson. This reflecting property of light is applied in various devices that we use in our daily life. Here we are going to see about the mirrors like spherical and parabolic mirrors, also the laws of reflection, laws of refraction, and some of the optical instruments, kaleidoscope, periscope, and the working principles of them. Next we will move on to the mirrors and the types of mirrors. We use mirrors in our daily life for various purposes. Mainly we use them for beautifying us. The mirror is an optical device with a polished surface that reflects the light falling on it. A typical mirror is a glass sheet coated with aluminum or silver on one of its sides to produce an image. Mirrors have a plane or curved surface. Curved mirrors have surfaces that are spherical, cylindrical, parabolic and ellipsoid. The shape of a mirror determines the type of image it forms. Plane mirrors form the perfect image of an object, whereas curved mirrors produce images that are either enlarged or diminished. One information is given there. Method of coating a glass plate with a thin layer of reflecting metals was in practice during the 16th century in Venice, Italy. They used an amalgam of tin and mercury for this purpose. Amalgam means a metal combined with another metal, and one compulsory metal will be the presence of mercury. So it is known as an amalgam. So here an amalgam of tin and mercury was used for this purpose. Nowadays, a thin layer of molten aluminum or silver is used for coating the glass plates that will then become mirrors. How the mirrors are classified based on the surfaces. First, mirrors are classified into plane mirrors and curved mirrors. Again, the curved mirrors are classified into spherical mirror, cylindrical, parabolic and ellipsoid mirrors. Spherical mirrors. Spherical mirrors are one form of curved mirrors. If the curved mirror is a part of a sphere, then it is called a spherical mirror. So this one is a sphere. If the curved mirror is a part of a sphere, then it is called a spherical mirror. It resembles the shape of a piece cut out from a spherical surface. One side of this mirror is silvered and the reflection of light occurs at the other side. Next we will move on to what is meant by concave mirror and convex mirror. Concave mirror, a spherical mirror in which the reflection of light occurs at its concave surface. So this one is a concave mirror. The reflective light will be falling on this surface. A spherical mirror in which the reflection of light occurs at its concave surface is called a concave mirror. These mirrors magnify the object placed close to them. The most common example of a concave mirror is the makeup mirror. Next we will move on to convex mirror. A spherical mirror in which the reflection of light occurs at its convex surface. So this one is a convex mirror, and the reflecting of light occurs at this surface. So what is the difference between concave and convex means? The concave will be inner faced mirror and convex will be the outer faced mirror. A spherical mirror in which the reflection of light occurs at its convex surface is called a convex mirror. The image formed by these mirrors is smaller than the object. Most common convex mirrors are rear viewing mirrors used in vehicles. One information is given regarding this. Convex mirrors used in the vehicles as rear view mirrors are labeled with the safety warning. Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. This is because inside the mirrors the vehicles will appear to be coming at a long distance. So only the warning is there. Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Next we will move on to parabolic mirrors. A parabolic mirror which is in the shape of a parabola is one type of curved mirror. It has a concave reflecting surface and this surface directs the entire incident beam of light to converge at its focal point. In the same way, light rays generated by the source placed at the focal point will fall on this surface and they will be diverged in a direction which is parallel to the principal axis of the parabolic mirror. Hence, the light rays will be reflected to travel a long distance without getting diminished. Parabolic mirrors are also known as parabolic reflectors, are used to collect or project light energy, heat energy, sound energy and radio waves. They are used in reflecting telescopes, radio telescopes and parabolic microphones. They are also used in solar cookers and solar water heaters. One more information is given there. The principle behind the working of a parabolic mirror has been known since the Greco-Roman times. The first mention of these structures was found in the book on burning mirrors written by the mathematician Diocles. They were also studied in the 10th century by a physicist called Ivan Sahal. The first parabolic mirrors were constructed by Heinrich Hertz, a German physicist, in the form of reflector antenna in the year 1888. Next we will move on to some of the terms related to spherical mirrors. In order to understand the image formation in spherical mirrors, we need to know about some of the terms related to them. They are center of curvature, pole, radius of curvature, principal axis, focus, focal length. So these are the terms related to the spherical mirrors. First, center of curvature. It is the center of the sphere from which the mirror is made. It is denoted by the letter C in the ray diagrams. So when you consider the diagram, here is the C, center of curvature. From the sphere, it is marked at the center. So it is called as the center of curvature. A ray diagram represents the formation of an image by the spherical mirror. Next one, pole. It is the geometric center of the spherical mirror. It is denoted by the letter P. In the diagram, this one is a pole. It is the geometric center of the spherical mirror and it is denoted by the letter P. Next, radius of curvature. It is the distance between the center of the sphere and the vertex. It is shown by the letter R in the ray diagrams. So, from the center, as you studied in maths, from the center to the sphere and the vertex, it is known as the radius of curvature and it is represented by the letter R. What is the vertex? The vertex is the point on the mirror's surface where the principal axis meets the mirror. It is also called as pole as we studied earlier. Next we will move on to principal axis. The line joining the pole of the mirror and its center of curvature is called the principal axis. So this one is the principal axis. It is a line joining the pole of the mirror and the center of curvature. Next, focus. When a beam of light is incident on a spherical mirror, the reflected rays converge at or appear to diverge from a point on the principal axis. So, the concave mirror converges and the convex mirror diverges. This point is called the focus or principal focus. It is also known as the focal point. It is denoted by the letter F in the ray diagrams. Focal length. The distance between the pole and the principal focus is called the focal length of a spherical mirror. There is a relation between the focal length of a spherical mirror and its radius of curvature. The focal length is half of the radius of curvature. So it can be given as focal length is equal to radius of curvature by 2. Next we will move on to the images formed by spherical mirrors. Images formed by spherical mirrors are of two types. One is real image and the other one is virtual image. Real images can be formed on a screen while virtual images cannot be formed on a screen. Image formed by a convex mirror is always erect, virtual and diminished in size. Diminished means small. As a result, images formed by these mirrors cannot be projected on a screen. The characteristics of an image are determined by the location of the object. As the object gets closer to the mirror, the image gets larger until attaining approximately the size of the object when it reaches the center of curvature of the mirror. As the object moves away, the image diminishes in size and gets gradually closer to the focus until it is reduced to a point at the focus when the object is at an infinite distance from the mirror. The size and nature of the image formed by a convex mirror are mainly diminished and virtual and erect. So this you can see in this tabulation. First position of the object, second one position of the image, third one image size, nature of the image. At the position infinity, the position of the image will be at F and the image size will be highly diminished and point size. The nature of the image will be virtual and erect. The position of the object between infinity and the pole P, the position of the image will be between P and F. The image will be formed between P and F. The image size will be in the diminished position and the nature of the image will be virtual and erect. Next we will move on to the concave mirrors. Concave mirrors form a real image and it can be caught on a screen. Unlike convex mirrors, concave mirrors show different image types. Depending on the position of the object in front of the mirror, the position, size and nature of the image will vary. You can observe that a concave mirror always forms a real and inverted image except when the object is placed between the focus and the pole of the mirror. In this position, it forms a virtual and erect image. So, the various images of a concave mirror is given here. First one, position of the object. Second one, position of the image size, nature of the image. First position, at infinity, the position of the image will be formed at F. The image size will be highly diminished. Nature of the image, real and inverted. Second position, beyond C. The position of the image will be formed between C and F. The image size will be diminished, real and inverted. The position at C, the position of the image will also be formed at C. The image size will be same size as the object. It will be real and inverted. The position between C and F, the position of the image is formed beyond the C. The image size will be magnified. It will be bigger, real and inverted, nature of the image. The position of the object at F, the position of the image will be formed at the infinity position. The image size will be highly magnified and it will be real and inverted. The position of the object between F and P, the position of the image will be formed behind the mirror and it will be in magnified size, and the nature of the image will be virtual and erect. Thank you, students. Good morning, students. In the physics lesson light of the last session, you had learnt about what are concave mirrors, what are convex mirrors and the spherical mirrors and the terms related to the spherical mirrors. Today we will move on to the applications of concave and convex mirror. Concave mirror. Concave mirrors are used while applying makeup or shaving as they provide a magnified image. Magnified means we can observe the image slightly bigger. They are used in torches, searchlights and headlights as they direct the light to a long distance. They can collect the light from a larger area and focus it into a small spot. Hence, they are used in solar cookers. So, when you consider the solar cookers, it gets a light from the sun and it will spot it to one focus. So, only they are used in solar cookers. They are used as head mirrors by the doctors to examine the eye, ear, nose and throat as they provide a shadow-free illumination of the organ. That is, the doctors can observe the inner organs with the help of this mirror and it provides the illumination of the organ. Illumination means light. They are also used in reflecting telescopes. Next, applications of convex mirror. Convex mirrors are used in vehicles as rear view mirrors because they give an upright image and provide a wider field of view as they are curved outwards. They are found in the hallways of various buildings including hospitals, hotels, schools and stores. Hallways means in the pathways and in many buildings, hospitals and all. They are usually mounted on a wall or ceiling where the hallways make sharp turns. They are also used on roads where there are sharp curves and turns. Next we will move on to the laws of reflection. One activity is given there. Take a plane mirror and focus the light coming from the sun on a wall. You can see a bright spot on the wall. How does it occurs? It is because the light rays falling on the mirror are bounced onto the wall. Can you produce the same bright spot with the help of any other object having a rough surface? Because the plane mirror has a flat, shiny surface. Not all the objects can produce the same effect as produced by the plane mirror. A ray of light falling on a body having a shiny, polished and smooth surface alone is bounced back. This bouncing back of the light rays as they fall on the smooth, shiny and polished surface is called reflection. Thus, bouncing back of the light rays as they fall on the smooth, shiny and polished surface is called reflection. Reflection involves two rays. One is incident ray and the another one is reflected ray. The incident ray is the light ray in a medium falling on the shiny surface of a reflecting body. After falling on the surface, this ray return into the same medium. This ray is called the reflected ray. When you consider this diagram, this one is the incident ray and it falls on the reflecting medium and it again reflects on the same medium. So only this is called incident ray and this one is called reflected ray. An imaginary line perpendicular to the reflecting surface at the point of incidence of the light ray is called normal. So this line is called the normal and it is perpendicular to the incident ray and the reflected ray. The relation between the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal is given as the laws of reflection. So what are the laws of reflection? The incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal at the point of incidence all lie in the same plane. So when you consider these three, incident ray, reflected ray and the normal, they all lie in the same plane. This is the first law of reflection. Second one, the angle of incidence I. This one is the angle of incidence I and the angle of reflection, this one angle of reflection R. They are always equal. The angle of incidence I and the angle of reflection R are always equal. One information is given there. Silver metal is the best reflector of light. That is why a thin layer of silver is deposited on the side of the materials like plain glass sheets to make the mirrors. Next we will move on to the types of reflection. Not all the bodies can reflect the light rays. The amount of reflection of light depends on the nature of the reflecting surface of the body. Based on the nature of the surface, reflection can be classified into two types. One is regular reflection and the another one is irregular reflection. Regular reflection. When a beam of light falls on a smooth surface, it gets reflected. After reflection, the reflected rays will be parallel to each other. After reflection, the reflected rays will be parallel to each other. Here, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection of each ray will be equal. So, when you consider this diagram, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection, they are equal. So, this is called as a regular reflection. The angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. Hence, the law of reflection is obeyed in this case, and thus a clear image is formed. This reflection is called regular reflection or specular reflection. This reflection is called regular reflection or specular reflection. Example for the regular reflection is reflection of light by a plane mirror and reflection of light from the surface of still water. So, this diagram represents the regular reflection. Next, we will move for irregular reflection. In the case of a body having a rough or irregular surface, each region of the surface is inclined at different angles. Each region of the surface is inclined at different angles. When light falls on such a surface, the light rays are reflected at different angles. In this case, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection of each ray are not equal. So, when you look at this diagram, the angles are not equal. They are inclined at different angles. The first ray here, it reflects here, and the second one, it reflects here, and the third one. So, each ray are inclined at different angles. So, in the case of irregular reflection, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection of each ray are not equal. Hence, the law of reflection is not obeyed in this case, and thus the image is not clear. Such a reflection is called irregular reflection or diffused reflection. A reflection is called irregular reflection or diffused reflection. Example, reflection of light from a wall. Next, we will move on to multiple reflections. When you look this diagram, this type of mirror you have been observed in the showrooms and in the many malls and all. So, this type of mirror is known as, which gives multiple reflection. Take two plane mirrors and keep them perpendicular to each other. Place an object between them. You can see the images of the object. So, how many images do you see in this mirrors? You can see 3 images. How is it possible? You observe that for an object kept in between two plane mirrors which were inclined to each other, you could see many images. This is because the image formed by one mirror acts as an object for the other mirror. The image formed by one mirror acts as an object for the other mirror. The image formed by the first mirror acts as an object for the second mirror, and the image formed by the second mirror acts as an object for the first mirror. So, this is the multiple reflection mirrors. Thus, we have 3 images of a single body. This is known as multiple reflection. This type of reflections can be seen in showrooms and saloons. The number of images formed depends on the angle of inclination of the mirrors. If the angle between the two mirrors is a factor of 360 degrees, then the total number of reflections is finite. If theta, this symbol represents theta, is the angle of inclination of the plane mirrors, the number of images formed is equal to 360 degrees by theta minus 1. As you decrease this angle, the number of images formed increases. When they are parallel to each other, the number of images formed becomes infinite. Thank you, students. Good morning, students. In the last session of the physics lesson light, we saw about the laws of reflection and the types of reflection. Now we will move on to the next concept, kaleidoscope and periscope, refraction of light. First, we will see what is meant by kaleidoscope. It is a device which functions on the principle of multiple reflection of light to produce numerous patterns of images. So we can see many images. It has two or more mirrors inclined to each other. It can be designed from inexpensive materials. The colorful image patterns formed by this will be pleasing to you. This instrument is used as a toy for children. So this one is the instrument which is known as kaleidoscope. Next we will move on to periscope. It is an instrument used for viewing bodies or shapes which are over and around another body or a submarine. It is an instrument used for viewing bodies or shapes which are over and around another body or a submarine. It is based on the principle of the law of reflection of light. It consists of a long outer case, and inside this case mirrors or prisms are kept at each end. So this one is the outer case. Inside this corners the mirrors or prisms are kept at each end, inclined at an angle of 45 degrees. So you can look this, they are inclined at an angle of 45 degrees. Light coming from the distant body. This one is the distant body. Light coming from the distant body falls on the mirror at the top end. So this one, it falls on the mirror at the top end of the periscope and gets reflected vertically downward. So it gets reflected vertically downward. This light is reflected again by the second mirror. So this one is the second mirror kept at the bottom so as to travel horizontally. So this one is reflected and it is inclined in the bottom mirror horizontally and reach the eye of the observer. Now it reaches the eye of the observer. In some complex periscopes, optic fiber is used instead of mirrors for obtaining a higher resolution. The distance between the mirrors varies depending on the purpose. Next we will move on to the uses of periscope. It is used in warfare and navigation of the submarine. So what is meant by navigation? The passage of ships, the traveling the way. So it is used in warfare and navigation of the submarine. In military, it is used for pointing and firing guns from a bunker. What is meant by bunker? It is a defensive military fortification designed to protect the people and valued materials from falling the bombs and other attacks. It is mostly found in the underground. Photographs of important places can be taken through periscopes without trespassing restricted military regions. Fiber optic periscopes are used by doctors as endoscopes to view internal organs of the body. Next we will move on to refraction of light. When a light ray falls on a polished surface placed in air, it is reflected into the air itself. When it falls on a transparent material, it is not reflected completely, but a part of it is reflected, a part of it is absorbed, and most of the light passes through it. So when it is passed through a transparent material, it is not reflected completely, but a part of it is reflected, a part of it is absorbed, and most of the light passes through it. Through air, light travels with the speed of 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second or ms to the power of minus 1. But it cannot travel with the same speed in water or glass because optically denser medium such as water and glass offer some resistance to the light rays. So, light rays traveling from a rarer medium like air into a denser medium like glass or water are deviated from their straight line path. You know that light travels in a straight line, but from a rarer medium to a denser medium, when it is deviated, it does not pass the straight line path. This bending of light above the normal at the point of incidence as it pushes from one transparent medium to another is called refraction of light. Bending of light above the normal at the point of incidence as it passes from one transparent medium to another is called refraction of light. When a light ray travels from the rarer medium into the denser medium, it bends towards the normal, and when it travels from the denser medium into the rarer medium, it bends away from the normal. You can observe this phenomenon with the activity. So, you can take a glass beaker, fill it with water and place a pencil in it. Now, look at the pencil through the beaker. Does it look straight? No, because it will appear to be bent at the surface of the water. This you can easily do it. In this activity, the light rays actually travel from the water, a denser medium, into the air, a rarer medium. When a light ray travels from a denser medium to a rarer medium, it is deviated from a straight line path. So, the pencil appears to be bent when you see it through the glass of water. Next, we will move on to refractive index. Refraction of light in a medium depends on the speed of light in the medium. When the speed of light in a medium is more, the bending is less, and when the speed of light is less, the bending is more. The amount of refraction of light in a medium is denoted by a term known as refractive index of the medium. The amount of refraction of light in a medium is denoted by a term which is known as refractive index of the medium, which is the ratio of the speed of light in the air to the speed of light in that particular medium. So, refractive index can be given as ratio of the speed of light in the air to the speed of light in that particular medium. It is also known as the absolute refractive index, and it is denoted by the Greek letter mu. So, mu can be given as speed of light in air c and speed of light in the medium v. So, mu equal to c by v. Speed of light in air divided by speed of light in the medium. Refractive index is a ratio of two similar quantities, and so it has no unit. Since the speed of light in any medium is less than its speed in air, refractive index of any transparent medium is always greater than 1. Some of the common substances of the refractive index are given here. Air 1.0, water 1.33, ether 1.36, kerosene 1.41, ordinary glass 1.5, quartz 1.56, diamond 2.41. In general, the refractive index of one medium with respect to another medium is given by the ratio of their absolute refractive indices. I mu 2 equals absolute refractive index of the second medium divided by absolute refractive index of the first medium. So I mu 2 equals C by V2 divided by C by V1, or I mu 2 equals V1 by V2, that is C gets cancelled. So I mu 2 can be given as V1 by V2. Thus the refractive index of one medium with respect to another medium is also given by the ratio of the speed of light in the first medium to its speed in the second medium. Next we will move on to Snell's law of refraction. Refraction of light rays as they travel from one medium to another medium obeys two laws which are known as Snell's laws of refraction. First one, the incident ray, the refracted ray and the normal at the point of intersection all lie in the same plane. The incident ray, the refracted ray and the normal at the point of intersection all lie in the same plane. So this one is the incident ray, this one is the refracted ray and this one is the normal at the point of intersection. All lie in the same plane. The ratio of the sine of the angle of incidence I to the sine of the angle of refraction R is equal to the refractive index of the medium, which is a constant. So it can be given as sine I by sine R equal to mu. So the ratio of the sine of the angle of incidence I and to the sine of the angle of refraction R is equal to the refractive index of the medium, which is a constant. So sine theta 1 divided by sine theta 2 equals n2 by n1. This one small activity. Place the prism on a table and keep a white screen near it. Now with the help of a torch, allow the white light to pass through the prism. What you can observe? You can observe that white light splits into 7 colored light rays, namely Vijayar, on the screen. So now place another prism. It is inverted position between the first prism and the screen. Now you can observe that white light is coming out of the second prism. So this is due to the dispersion. This concept you had studied in your 7th class itself about Vijaya and dispersion, splitting of light and all. So you can see that the first prism splits the white light into 7 colored light rays and the second prism recombines them into white light again. It is clear that white light consists of 7 colors. Splitting of white light into its 7 constituent colors on passing through a transparent medium is known as dispersion of light. Splitting of white light into its 7 constituent colors on passing through a transparent medium is known as dispersion of light. Why does dispersion occurs? It is because light of different colors present in white light have different wavelengths and they travel at different speeds in a medium. You know that refraction of a light ray in a medium depends on its speed. As each colored light has a different speed, the constituent colored lights are refracted at different extents inside the prism. Moreover, refraction of light ray is inversely proportional to its wavelength. Refraction of a light ray is inversely proportional to its wavelength. The red color light, which has a larger wavelength, is deviated less, while the violet colored light, which has a shorter wavelength, is deviated more. So, this you can observe in the rainbow. The formation of a rainbow is an example of dispersion of white light. This can be seen on the opposite side of the sun. After rainfall, large number of droplets still remain suspended in the air. When white light passes through them, it is split into 7 colors. Dispersion of white light from a large number of droplets eventually forms a rainbow. Thank you, students.